Joining me right now is North Carolina Congressman Greg Murphy. He's a member of the House Ways and Means Committee and also the co-chairman of the GOP Doctors Caucus. Congressman, it's always a pleasure to see you. Thanks for being here.
Good morning. Good morning. Hope you're well.
Walk us through what took place this week and where we are. Are you expecting the government to shut down on Saturday night?
Well, we've been walking through, getting through the rules and getting through the final appropriations bills, looking at all the hundreds of amendments that individuals are allowed to submit in regular order. And we've gone through and through and through, and we got three of the four bills passed out. One did not. Agriculture did not pass out. So a lot of folks who are in the Midwest really thought the cuts were too stringent, and so, but we're moving on. I think we're doing what the process is what we intended to do. Sad thing is, some of our colleagues have slowed the process a little bit. So here we are. We're at a precipice. We have to fund the government, and we either do it through a CR or we shut down. I'm optimistic, cautiously optimistic that we'll get a CR, not shut down.
So you've passed 3 out of the 4 that you were working on. Look, that's a big deal. 3 out of the 4 seems to me to be a victory. You only had a couple of days, and you did that. But I want to get your take on how long you think it will take to get the rest of the work done. Let's say we get that continuing resolution. Is that the CR that Byron Donalds and Scott Perry worked on, where it's an 8% cut in spending, but it makes the border policy changes the key centerpiece?
Well, I think so. There's several different iterations, Maria, that still are flexible to this day. There's a thought to be a discharge petition by one of the members from New York to get the whole thing done cleanly. I'm not in favor of that, but the whole fact is, the good thing is we're thinking about it and moving it forward. Sometimes if something comes over with the Senate sends something over with massive amounts of aid for Ukraine. It's dead on arrival. Nobody wants a shutdown. Nobody wants a shutdown. And so we're just trying to move forward. This is hard business. It's hard to gather all the individuals and all the different personalities together to agree. But I think Kevin McCarthy's done an excellent job of herding the cats.
Yes, he certainly has, and I know that it's tough when you only have a 4-seat majority. I want to get your take on the other big piece of business, and that is the House holding the first impeachment inquiry. The hearing yesterday, South Carolina Congresswoman Nancy Mace joined me to talk about this. Listen to this.
My Democrat colleagues say none of this is relevant because Joe Biden wasn't vice president while his family did these shady deals. Turns out that's complete and total bull. It's a lie. Hunter Biden referred to access to his father as the keys to his family's only asset. Those words are going to come back and haunt Hunter Biden and his family forever.
Now, Congressman, you know that your Democrat colleagues on the committee are attempting to defend Biden, and they say that this has everything to do with Trump, and there's no evidence. Watch this.
But I will tell you what the president has been guilty of. He has unfortunately been guilty of loving his child unconditionally, and that is the only evidence that they have brought forward. And honestly, I hope and pray that my parents love me half as much as he loves his child.
So what is this hearing actually about? It's a campaign strategy. It is this committee and loyalists of Donald Trump doing his bidding to bolster his chances of winning back the White House and securing their majority in the next election.
Congressman, your reaction?
I'm laughing at that. I mean, that's just an outrageous little scream. You know, who's helping Donald Trump win the election most is Joe Biden. By his disastrous policies, you know, the absolute majority of Americans right now see his immigration policy as anti-American and destroying the country. You know, that little tirade meant nothing. The evidence is there for Joe Biden. More and more, we're getting closer and closer and closer. Just because they don't want it doesn't mean it isn't there. So bless her heart, as we say.
So, Congressman, I want to get your take on what you think is the most damning evidence. I mean, you've got witness testimony where those whistleblowers said $5 million to one Biden, $5 million to the other. I mean, that, you know, suggests bribery. You've got the 176 suspicious activity reports, and then you've got all those emails and text messages by Hunter Biden with Jim Biden. But what do you deem as the most important evidence against Joe Biden for potential bribery?
Well, it's a web. It's a web, Maria. And you know, the whole thing started with Burisma. It was a corrupt company. Their own prosecutor, federal prosecutor, was going after them. So they say, what can we do to stop this? So they hire Hunter Biden, who has absolutely nothing to do with this energy company. He knows nothing of this, paying him $88,000 a day. All of a sudden, wow, the vice president goes over to Ukraine, threatens him. And we have actual TV, audio, and visual evidence where he's threatening to withhold $1 billion unless they get rid of the prosecutor that's pushing against Burisma. And then when, hey, Happy Joe gets about $5 million a little while later. And the thing is, they're so corrupt. 20 shell companies that have actual no product, no business, no whatsoever, being paid by Ukraine, by China, by Russia, by Romania. The thought goes on and on and on. We're just closing in on the final smoking gun to this. You know, the guy said he was honest. He's the most corrupt president this nation has ever seen.
Wow. That is just stunning. Just to be clear, I believe Hunter Biden was making like $1 million a year. It was over $88,000 a month, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
$88,000 a month. Okay. So I want to turn to your doctor's hat, and if you'll put that on for us for a second. Ohio Congressman Brad Wenstrup, the head of the Select Subcommittee on the Coronavirus Pandemic, sending a letter to the Department of Health and Human Services Inspector General, charging that Dr. Anthony Fauci was secretly escorted to the CIA headquarters, where he allegedly attempted to influence the outcome of the agency's investigation into the origins of COVID-19. Congressman, the more we hear out of what took place, whether it's about Joe Biden and these bribery situations or, you know, COVID and the censorship that we all faced during COVID, the more that we do not trust this government. What's the story with Anthony Fauci and the CIA?
Well, Anthony Fauci, in my opinion, was an arrogant, despicable leader of medicine at that time. But he instead of doing it objectively, he did it with 100% political science. And what we're finding now is Joe has to go to any length to protect himself from looking like he's attacking China, because they have so much evidence on Joe for being actually corrupt. And so Fauci, whether it's related to Joe Biden or not, knew that if people knew that the virus came out of China, that his political career, his medical career would be over, because he was funding this research. So it initially came out that the virus came from this lab, but then it was a quick switcheroo. Basically, they changed all the evidence. They made people who were putting out the theory and the knowledge. I absolutely 100% believe it came out of that lab, not on purpose, but it came out of that lab. And so Fauci has lied upon lied upon lied. I saw Brad's letter alleging this access to the CIA. Makes me doubt that nothing whatsoever. But it's part of an agency scheme to protect the president and deflect the fact that Biden doesn't want anything coming out of China that looks like he's attacking China. Because you know what? The Communist Party one day is going to rip open the page and say, here how corrupt the president is.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I mean, how much do they have on him? Is that what this is about? Yeah. They've got so much on him that he's got to protect China at all costs, even though it's the number one adversary of this country.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Amazing. Congressman, thank you very much. We're going to keep a spotlight on this and certainly follow your work. We appreciate it.